got train tracks that had riveted shoes in there. Look how far off it is from around. They tried to turn it, they turned it down to as much as they can, and that's it. Around it there, around it here. So the drum is still at around in these drums. Definitely. Jimmy? Mm-hmm. Axle bearing is no good, and hopefully it didn't affect the axle. The axle's on this car. When you can take the axle and move it up and down, it's showing it's got a huge amount of axle bearing wear in there. If you can move it up and down slightly is good, but a lot is not good, and you can also see the axle has been leaking past the seal, so you have 98 gear oil coming down past that, onto the shoes, onto the drum, causing a brake problem. But this is severe. That's a lot of axle play there. It can be so bad where it can start overheat the axle, crystallize it, and have it break right off. Not very often it happens, but this one's getting ready. Full size.
It's got new shoes there.
New shoes, new wheel cylinders. This wheel cylinder looks like it might be leaking here. Is it? No, it's not leaking. It's good. I'd do drums anyway. Yeah. So these things are so far out of round. Oh, absolutely. It's inconsistent on the marks all the way around, so they are out around. You see this on the backing plate. This is not supposed to be there. No. As axle seal leaking down, it's going to contaminate. It's going to get onto here. Yeah, it's already on here. It's already on the shoes. It needs new shoes. It needs everything except wheel cylinders again. It's welded in that. So against the law. You can't do that. If any inspector ever saw that, he would never let you drive your car. You can't do that. If they're not fitting properly, you need to machine this out to a better size so you can put a different wheel stud in there. You can't do that. Well, somebody did, but not legally. The first clue was something's wrong. It's all got splines coming up into the drum. It's supposed to be swedge. It's called swedge when they squeeze it together. That was not bad. This was not great. It's okay. Not bad. Not at all. So we've got different size studs going on here. And then you look at the other side. They're welded. You can never weld that kind of stuff. This is not accepted any kind of inspection at all, ever. Not when it has to do with braking, steering, suspension, or rotating mass. When you weld it, you change the particular structure of the metal, and now it becomes brittle. This is no good. It has to be thrown away. It's got a gas tank that's back pretty far. The infill spout here goes quite a way. It's got a proper piece of hose going up to fill a cap. There's actually a loop going up here. We're supposed to have a strap up here to hold it in place. If you don't, it wiggles up and down like that, and it's going to break it right in here. You see where it's darker here? It gets darker because it's damp. And if it's damp, it's leaking. It's gas. It's not a good thing. Yeah. Is that actually loose or just coming right? I don't know what it is, He's probably from both of them. It's a bullet. Looks like he's leaking a bit of transmission fluid from the speedometer cable housing. It's called a bullet inside here. It looks like a bullet. It's got an O-ring on it. It's leaking down there and down here. And the tail shaft seal is also leaking. You can see actual transmission fluid coming down there. Could use another one, that's for sure. And it's leaking a little bit of transmission fluid up by these high pressure hoses instead of having steel hoses. Why they did that, I don't know, but it makes it so it's loose and it bangs around and you can see the mess. It's everywhere. It should be fixed right. Seatbelts. Seatbelts going with bolts through the body of the car. This is the seatbelt going through the nylock nut on the bolt. That's the proper way to do it. The proper size washer so it doesn't pull through. That's for the rear seatbelt. Let's take a look and see what happened to the front seatbelts. Front seatbelt. It's got a proper bolt and nut through here, but it doesn't have a washer through there. So it means if somebody's ever in the collision, it's going to cock it sideways, it's going to pull right out of there. To fix, put a proper washer on it, and that'll fix the whole thing right up.
The first thing I think should be done with this car, after we've taken a look at the braking system on it and found on the left front hub assembly, the actual wheel studs were tack welded in, which you should never do. So if somebody has done something to try to fix it up, probably didn't find the right parts, but it really needs to be addressed properly. in the rear axle bearing and seal area. The rear axle bearings have got so much play on the axle, they go up and down a lot, as you'll see in the video, that that is no way a seal is going to hold up to that kind of punishment. It's going to leak no matter what, and it is leaking, it's getting on the shoes, so the brakes have to be redone again. It's just not going to handle anything. This car has to have some axle bearings and seals addressed before the car goes anywhere. And this driver's front hub assembly also, because this wheel studs and nuts, it's something it shouldn't play around with the wrong way. Once you put heat to it, any kind of electric weld or anything, you're changing the whole structure of the metal, and it's a lot of pressure on there. And who wants to be responsible for somebody else's life because somebody done something incorrectly? So I would address that right away. And the fuel part of it, I did a fuel pressure check on it from the fuel pump up to the carburetor. It's got the proper poundage, 5 pounds on 3 cranks on a proper rotation, no problem whatsoever. That part's working fine. So it does have a fuel problem going from the fuel pump to the gas tank. I found it's also joined in one spot near the passenger side rear door, where they didn't flare the metal line, probably because it's cracking, or didn't want to flare it, didn't think it was a good idea. It's leaking a little bit. So it's also a fire hazard. It should never pass inspection with that either. And the filler tube coming from the gas tank up into behind the bumper area, there's a proper clamp up there, clamping area. There was no clamp up there. It makes the whole thing wiggle around. You see it staining where it's being soldered around for the filler tube into the gas tank. And fix that properly. It needs to come out, be taken apart, resealed, see how the tank is. What's happening at the top of the tank, we don't know. And I would rather replace a whole steel line from the rear all the way up to the fuel pump. And I'd like to make a new steel line from the fuel pump up to the carburetor. Braided hose is okay. I prefer steel line. It can't chafe and rub through as easily. Someone has done a lot of work to this car. They've done a lot of really good things, but unfortunately they've missed a few things that I think are very important, like the axle bearing part of it and the safety part with the wheel studs and nuts. I really think it should be done again to make it safe to go down the road and make sure everybody's family is going to be safe to go home again. You never know what's going to happen with these cars.